Get this done by working together as a team.
Jeez, bub. Keep buzzing in my ear.
Hello everyone, thanks so much for joining me here today as we get to talk about one of my favorite subjects, comic books. My name is Jose. I love comic books, I love talking about them, I love sharing them with you. Feel free to follow me on social media if you would like. Links are in the description below. I've also posted a link to the Marvel fan site that'll have plot synopsis and character bios for this issue. We're going to be looking at the Uncanny X-Men 190 from 1984. You can see here also the New Mutants. And so we've got this cover here. Scream, Xavier, scream. Through you, I shall rule the X-Men and the world. Guest stars Spider-Man and the Avengers here. So, sorry. John Romita Jr. with Dan Green are the cover artists. It almost looks like Caliban. So, this is the classic X-Men / X-Men classic cover by Tom Rainey. Okay. The next two issues, 190 and 191, are not my favorite. As I mentioned a long time ago, when John Byrne left X-Men and Chris Claremont kind of became singular writer again, he struggled a little bit, found his footing, really did some really good things, but once in a while, it's not that good. And these next two issues are some of that kind of thing. So these next two issues are okay. So we're in New York City here, and we can see here that the military has kind of surrounded the city because there's a mythical barrier that has erected itself among. This is in the 80s when the Statue of Liberty was under construction, so this dates it very well here. And you can see here that Manhattan has turned into like a Conan almost, because this is a one of a Conan bad guy. I mean, I think that he was created by Marvel but used in Conan, if I remember correctly. So here we have a double page spread with this strange thing here. And so now we go to Washington, D.C. here, and we see Valerie Cooper making a report here. And so she is basically going to give a briefing here at the White House for the National Security Council here. And basically she's going to explain what has happened in New York here. So I'm Valerie Cooper, Special Assistant to the President's National Security Advisor. I'll be chairing this morning's meeting. The energy curtain appeared just after midnight in the City Hall neighborhood of Lower Manhattan. Within an hour, it had spread to encompass the entire island, establishing and holding its current position. Our military reconnaissance satellites have determined that everything within the curtain, animate or inanimate, has been regressed to this barbarian state, translated into its equivalent historical analog. Police became civic guards, guns, swords, cars, horses, and chariots. As a final example indicates, we're taking about fundamental, scientifically impossible reorganization in the state of matter and reality. The barrier is permeable. Troops easily penetrated it, but the moment they did, they were transformed. We haven't heard of them since. Evidently, they lost all memory of their true identities and the world they came from. None of those affected voluntarily wish or attempt to leave the island, but some have inadvertently crossed back through the barrier. Since this happens mostly on the rivers, we've ordered our naval units to keep constant watch for anyone in the water. Evidently, those people remember their experiences. Some don't quite believe it. Our integrations of them give us a fair idea of what's happening in Manhattan. So, Oh my goodness, I forgot to give you the credits here. So, Chris Claremont is the writer, John Romita Jr. and Dan Green do the art, Glynis Wein is the colorist, Tom Rzakowski is the letterer, with Still Innocenti and Jim Shooter in the editorial. Now, real quick here, I don't know if this looks like it was rewritten or not relettered here, because this does not look like Orzakowski here. So, all right, we continue here. This city is ruled by a wizard named Kulangath. Within this barrier, a different set of natural lies apply. Magic, sorcery works. As the satellite surveillance photo reveals, he is not a benevolent monarch. His laws are being enforced by a is it cadre? I don't know, of super beings called Morlocks. The slightest infraction of them is punishable by summary execution. Kulangath also practices human sacrifice on a monster scale. His victims are exclusively children. Repeated attempts to contact Avengers Mansion, the Baxter Building, headquarters of the Fantastic Four, and S.H.I.E.L.D.'s New York office have failed. We have, however, managed to cite a number of super beings which, along the eyewitness accounts of escapees, have confirmed those heroes too have been transformed. And so here we have Captain America, Wasp, Star Fox. He was in the Avengers during this time. Vision, Scarlet Witch, Colossus, Nightcrawler, Storm, and Rogue. And here we have Spider-Man. Those are who we've managed to identify so far. For some reason, Spider-Man seems unaffected. We've no idea why. This spell doesn't alter personal relationships or memories. Friends remain friends, families. The Avengers, a band of warrior heroes. It's just their external realities that is different. Their powers and lives are now defined in terms of the age they're living in. They believe the whole world is just like Manhattan. And didn't Storm leave? I swear to God, Storm had left, and I don't seem to recall anything where she came back. So that's okay. All right, we're gonna continue here. And Valerie continues, and we can't find a way to reverse this enchantment, or at least hold it in check. They may as well be right. And so this guy here says, Dr. Cooper, you have mutants, the outlaw groups, the X-Men lined up there along with the Avengers as heroes. What's the idea? Why one of their members, that girl, Rogue, is a known criminal? Filthy mutiny vermin, says this guy. This whole mess is probably their fault. They ought to be stamped out once and for all. So, which means that we're going back to that whole thing here. So we are kind of gonna move on a little bit as Valerie Cooper gets them back in line here. She's like, this isn't helping. The paramount threat we face is on the screen because the United Nations is in New York. Every country in the globe is involved. They're looking at at us, my friends. Right now, the fate of the world may well depend on those mutant vermin, she says in quotations, who have no reason to help us whatsoever. And every reason to harm us. Perhaps if they give us a second chance, we can change that. I hope, I pray so with all my heart. And so here we are. And so we have Storm here. And Chris Claremont says she wakes up and senses that things are just weird, but they seem to be the way they should be. And so this is Sunder. He was one of the Morlocks, and here's Callisto here. And so they say they have a warrant for her arrest, and she's like, what's the charge? And Callisto says, your assistance displeases my master Kulangath. That is sufficient. And Storm says, considering your reputation, I expected more resistance. I'm disappointed. Oh, sorry, that was Callisto continuing. Is the iron hot, Sunder? It'll do, Callisto. Splendid. These slave collars for you, Windrider, and to brand you for all time. Close it around her neck, Sunder, before the metal cools. And she's like, nope. And ends up throwing Sunder in the thing. How did she get back? All right. Anyway, she was supposed to have gone to Africa. So anyway, so off she goes, and she's gonna climb up the masthead, and Callisto is going to follow her. And Callisto says, "My master would have preferred you alive, Ororo, but I think he'll shed no tears when I present him your corpse instead." And so Callisto says, "This is a moment I've long awaited, Wind Rider. You'll not escape me now." And she says, "I have no weapons." And Callisto's like, "That makes this odds even. After all, though we're both mutants, but a warrior. They say, are a goddess." And so you can see here she draws a little blood, um, and feels the pain here. And the mast is collapsing here, so down goes Callisto and Storm. And Storm takes her, and Callisto's like, "You'll kill us both." And she's like, "Well, perhaps." And she says here, "I made sure Callisto bore the brunt of the impact. She's stunned, but I doubt she will remain for long." And she goes, "A chokehold should steal breath and senses. It would be so simple a matter to finish the job and let her drown. Why do I hesitate? She would do the same to me. No, whatever I have become, I will remain true to the woman I was." So, she's struggling, and all of a sudden she passes the barrier, and she is back to what she was. So maybe did the airplane not go off? I mean, it's just weird. Or no, she was taking a boat. Anyway, so she sees that the armies boast here, and she says here, "Callisto spoke of a sorcerer named Kulangath. Is this his doing? And what of the X-Men who were in Manhattan last night? Were they cursed as well? What has happened to them?" she wonders here. And so, let's see here. I'm telling you, these are not my favorite. Just part of it is just how confusing this issue, these two issues are. These are not, like I said, these are not my kind of stories, but we'll continue here just for completion's sake. And so Kulangath is trying to make anyone who is able to stop him, turning them into like slaves, or kill them. And so so what he's doing is he's trying to merge Professor Xavier and Caliban into a single entity to better hunt his foes, and has Doctor Strange mystically warped so that he cannot utter a magic spell or cast any of his fingers, rendering him harmless. With these threats neutralized, he's going to he's kind of still talks about Spider-Man here. "I shall have my revenge against that dearly hated foe, the accursed hero, Man Spider." So, all right. So, Kulangath has his people bring forth the prisoners, which are the New Mutants here and Peter Parker. So, it says here, Professor Psy-Power summoned New Mutants. He lured friends and self. Okay, not Peter Parker. This has to be Warlock, because he's the one that it looks like Peter Parker. Oh goodness gracious, it's Warlock here. Xavier informs me you are called the mutants, feared and hated by those who lack your special abilities. What makes you most precious to me? I am Kulangath, soon to be master of the world, and you and your fellow mutants will provide the nucleus of my hell horde. And he says, you are outcast, afraid and resentful, no matter how hard you try to hide or deny it. See how easily I take those negative emotions and combine their darkly potential with my own power and reshape you body and soul. And Warlock is like, by the maker, forgive self, reign. You were self's first friend. Self owes life to you. That's how Warlock talks. He says saying I, he says self. So self should have acted sooner, but there is still time to save the others. And so he grabs Danny, Roberto, and Sam. So Cannonball, Sunspot, and I think at this time she's still called Psyche. And it says here he's fast, but Cooling Gath is faster, and you can see here that he changed him as well. And he says here, self dares not fight. They could do self grievous harm, where self might do the same to them. Better to flee, as self always does, to self's eternal shame. And so, here's Xavier and Caliban here. He says the creature's terror and loneliness is at least as great as its fellows. I should have enslaved him with ease. It was unaffected by my master spell as well. Xavier, come forth. And so, explain the creature's immunity. Cannot possibly. It is Warlock's alien nature. He is not of this world. Find it at once. No. Caliban wishes to obey, but I do not. Your will, little man, is as formidable as any I've encountered, because Xavier is resisting. In your own world, your proper time, your true identity, you might prove my equal. But in my magic, I have reshaped reality, and in my image, everything and everyone it is in my creation. And they're like, I hear and I obey. And so here we have Celine here. Careless as ever, Coolingath, your enchantment has no effect on the sorceress who was old. Her power feared when this world was in its infancy. And she kind of teleports out. And so we have Amara and Phoenix kind of being harassed by these Morlocks here. And here comes Celine. She kills 2 of them and traps the other one. I don't know why she didn't kill everybody. And she's gonna try. She would have recruited these 2, but of course nobody remembers her. And she's like, Princess Amara, Lady Rachel, I am Celine. And so now back across in an apartment here. Oh, they're inside the ship. Sorry, they're inside the ship, and they realize that they're locked in. Sorry, and Celine appears in using she's using Rachel's psychic abilities. And Storm recognizes her, and she tells her, I'm using Rachel's telepathic abilities to project my own. And Storm is like, which, if you have harmed her? And she goes, I have not. Let there be peace between us, Windrider. I need your aid. The ensorcelment of your city is a work of an old and deadly foe. And if he's not stopped soon, his spell will become irreversible and will spread from the source to engulf the entire planet. Will you allow that, or was I wrong in my estimation of your sense of courage and duty? And Callisto is like, his spell made me a slave, sweetheart. Once I cross that barrier, I'll revert. I'll be much used to you then. And Celine continues, I can remedy that somewhat by using my own sorcery to protect you from his influence. And while you will forget this modern world and your roles in it, you'll remember the essence of our conversation, that Coolingath is an evil which must be destroyed, and that Celine is ever your friend and ally. So Calista says, you believe her? And Storm's like, no, trust her? And she's like, yeah, never. And you can see she's using a lockpick. We're showing off, Aurora. Why don't you use your elemental powers to fly us out of here? And Storm says they no longer exist. How? What happened? That is not important. And Callista says, it is to me. I did not know you cared. And Callista's like, you won my place in fair combat as leader of the Morlocks. I want to take it back the same way. That means nothing if you're just human. More importantly, we take care of our own. And if someone did this to you and you didn't take his life, I will. So the 2 of them running here. So they weren't in the ship. It looks like they were just being held in that hotel. So off they go. And so they're going to go down the sewer. And so in the meantime, inside, Spider-Man's running away here. And he goes here, this is crazy. Not only is my hometown into turned into some giant-sized set from Conan the Barbarian, because it is. But it looks like everybody's favorite pastime became collecting my scalp, collecting the scalp of your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. So, and then here's Wolfsbane and Sunspot. So everybody's trying to get, and of course he speaks English, so nobody understands him here. And Wasp and Star Fox, and so Spider-Man's fighting the New Mutants here, trying to as they're trying to get him here. And this is Mirage or Psyche, whatever. And they're like, she's like, hold, the Master's Oracle Xavier speaks to me. Another foe is close by, there by the fire. And of course, we see Illyana here. And Captain America says, she's just a girl, leave her alone. His shield marks him as a captain. So stand aside, loud. We're in the wizard's business. And if I refuse, and Danny says, you and your companions defy our dread lord at your peril. Bring me their heads. And so here we go. Everybody's fighting, but then here comes Colossus with Sunder. And now all of a sudden everybody's fighting. And so Callisto and Storm are about to cross the border here. And Storm says, "This, there it is, our moment of truth." She's like, and Callisto's like, scared? And Storm says, very. Well, that makes two of us. You okay? You don't look so good. It is the wound you gave me, but I can manage. It is a shame fate us cast as rivals. Breaks my heart, Blue Eyes. Shall we? And so off they go. And so they go here, and they're like, in the name of Kulangath, slay them, says this horde. And then of course here comes our hero. So, and Illyana, Colossus is on Kulangath's side, and she calls the soul sword and uses it against her brother. And so we've got ourselves kind of a fight. It's like I said, and if you kind of hear it, I'm really not into it. It's just I'm just trying to get past these two issues here. I'm looking forward on the road to 200 just as soon as I get past these. All of a sudden here, you see these eyes here. Unhand her. Our comrades slain to a man. Only Sunder's strength shattered our prisons and saved us. We have the man spider. That is what Kulangath wanted the most. The others can wait. And so they disappear with just a Spider-Man here. So it looks like, who was that? Was that Storm? Or was that Selene here? So doesn't say here. So alright. And so Nightcrawler's like, they're gone. And so the heroes are like, yay, we won. And so and Captain America asks, who came to our aid and why? She struck with a merciless brutality that matched our foes. That must have been Selene. And she says, I am Selene, and these my children, Amara and Rachel, and I was far gentler than they would have been with you, dear Captain, in similar circumstances. At least their end was quick and relatively painless. Your agonies at Kulangath's hand would defy description. I saved you from that. In return, I require your aid against the foul specter who seized our city. Ah, Selene, weren't you always saying that overconfidence? And this is somebody else here. And she's like, would prove the death of me. And suddenly, it looks like she is eaten. This is just, this is just weird. And it is Kulangath here. So now he obviously doesn't kill her, so she's probably transported somewhere else here. He warns the gathered rebels to cease their quest to overthrow him, offering pleasure before the wildest dream, and he teleports away here, warning them not to cross his path. So And then as he disappears, of course, um, Storm and Callisto arrive. So, um, sorry, I got a little lost here. My bad. Okay, Kulangath went to go get them, but they have already left. So that's what it is here. And Kulangath is like, where'd they go? And he says, I, Caliban, do not know. I, Caliban, seek but cannot find. And so here's Selene. What a pity. Could it be, dear Kulan, that there are limitations to your abilities, that you are perhaps not quite as omnipotent as you'd like to think? Um, and he says, you would do well, Slattern, to hold your tongue lest I carve it out. And she kind of screams in pain. This is like a long, because if you take a look here, we're already on page 24. Normally, comic books are only 22 pages, so we're already like 2 pages over our what would be a normal issue here. So basically, he now wants everyone to search him. I want them dead by sunrise here. So now we're in the Morlock tunnels here, and our heroes are gathered in a camp, and they basically begin to compare notes. Of, so Nightcrawler says, "Are you positive we're safe, Callisto?" And she's like, "Nowhere is safe, Fuzzy, where a wizard's concerned, but I figured this hole's as good as we'll ever get. The tunnels are all warded against the Seeker Xavier's power, and this is the only one I know about. Ororo, I'm worried about the girls. Selene touched their souls. She's a part of them, as they are of her. Kulangath could use that bond against us." And Storm says, or Selene herself could. The risk must be taken, Callisto. We need their power. If it comes to a choice, Amara, which side? And Amara says, we have no choice, Rachel. Not really. Not anymore. First, last, always, we serve Selene. So Captain America says, the wizard's guard is drawn from your tribe, Callisto, and yours, Order. He called them mutants. And Storm says, it is said we are touched or cursed at birth with magic. So I'm not going to read that part because, of course, it's the same thing as always. So Selene is a demon sorceress and mutant are both. And Elena says, as am I, good captain. Knowing that, would you defend me as you did before? Among my people, youngster, for whom I am named, a person is judged by deeds. Everyone is created equal, free in body and spirit, with the same rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But I warn you, Selene and Kulangath are two of a kind. So, and Callisto says, we don't trust her either, Cap, but we need her, says Storm. As I suspect, she now does us. The paramount threat, however, is Kulangath. Whatever our suspicions of Selene, we know what he will do. Enslave the world, Captain, including your proud America. Once he is beaten, then we can worry about her. And Captain America says, Ororo, she may be dead already or worse. Maybe that was Nightcrawler. We've lost our strongest weapon before the battle's even begun. And Storm says, but what if Kulangath that is what Kulangath no doubt believes, so we shall turn that belief to our advantage. Confront raw power with stealth, trickery, confound his sorcery, and his sorcery with our wits. For all his boasting, Nightcrawler, he is no god, merely a man, and we may fail, but we must try. And so, we finally, man, this was a long friggin' story. It's been longer, but this one just seems so long. I apologize. I'm just not into it. But I'm just trying to finish it off here because again, we're trying to complete, and It's just not my favorite. I do apologize for that. I really shouldn't treat it like that because you may like it. So, Captain America says, my entire life has been a crusade against evil, against those who would enslave their fellow man. There is no doubt in my mind, Ororo is right. Some of us are mutants, some of us aren't, but what is important is who we are as a people. And if we believe in, if what we believe in is to mean anything, my friends, in the name of those calling Gath has slain and may yet slay, and the dreams he's trampled into nightmares, let the word go forth, Avengers assemble. So next, Raiders of the Lost Temple. So, yay! This issue is done, but guess what? We have one more to go, but luckily it is not today. Uncanny X-Men 190, written by Chris Claremont, drawn by John Romita Jr. and Dan Green, who will be inker pretty much every issue, pretty much not every single issue, but most issues from now until the end of Mark Silvestri's run before Jim Lee comes. So, real quick, something I didn't mention, I do have several playlists. I have an X Universe playlist that contains everything Chris Claremontish era X titles. It includes Uncanny X-Men, it includes New Mutants, the Wolverine Limited Series, Kitty Pryde and the Wolverine, any other X thing throughout that era will be there. I have an Uncanny X-Men playlist, and I do have a New Mutants playlist also as well. Like and subscribe. I do thank you for listening. Yeah, it just, like I said, it was just a little. It's not my favorite, but it could be yours. And you know what? It's still better than anything done today. It's just when you look at so many of the X-Men stories, this one just was a little bit, I don't know, a little bit different. Like I said, I'm very confused how Storm arrived here. There was really no explanation. She was on a boat to go to Africa, and then suddenly she's here. All right, enough of that. We'll see you tomorrow for the next one. Goodbye.